So it is time to settle an age-old debate. Is it okay to let your kids believe in Santa? Does this allow them to enjoy the magic of Christmas, or will it set them up for lifelong psychological damage that only years of therapy can correct? That's the question of the day, and it's definitely sparked an online debate. Let's get into it. Welcome to my channel, Outspoken Samantha. I appreciate you being here, whether this is the first time you have clicked on one of my videos or you are a returning supporter. Do me a couple favors, hit that thumbs up button, and also help me to reach my goal of 10,000 subscribers by Christmas and hit that subscribe button now. And if you feel up to it, turn on your notifications so that you never miss out on a conversation like the one we're about to have. So, as some, if not most of you are probably aware by now, Christmas is by far my favorite time of year. Nothing besides Jesus and my family makes me happier than singing Christmas songs, putting up my tree, and squeezing out every ounce of holiday cheer that I can from the Christmas season for as long as I possibly can. And I enjoy all aspects of the holiday, from the decorations and the gifts, to the time with my family, to the music and the entertainment, to the true reason for the season, which is the birth of our Savior Jesus Christ, and focusing on the story that made all of this possible. And in my household, I think we do our best to make sure that we're not entirely focused on gifts and Christmas lists and thinking about what Santa's going to leave us under the tree, but to make sure that we're also thinking about the things that are important, like going to events that focus on Jesus Christ. And I feel like growing up, my family handled things pretty much the same way. We did enjoy the commercial side of things, and that included a belief in Santa Claus, while also emphasizing the significance of the season at the same time. And in my experience, believing in the jolly fat guy in the red suit had no negative impact on me or my siblings. I never had any reason to believe that having my kids do the same would be problematic at all. All believed in Santa Claus when they were little. They would leave out cookies and milk, and they would try to sleep in the living room and see if they could catch Santa as he was leaving things under the tree for them. I have to say that those memories are truly special to me, especially because their excitement and their anticipation was something that they had together as siblings and that they bonded over. They hyped each other up on how they were going to catch Santa and the different ways that they could wake each other up to make sure that nobody missed out. And it was just really adorable. As they've gotten older, I don't think that there was a defining moment when they realized that Santa wasn't actually real. And I don't think either my husband and I sat down with them and specifically said, this man is a fictitious figure and doesn't actually exist. Sorry, we lied to you. I just think as you get older, you naturally start to realize that a lot of things that you thought were real actually aren't. It just comes with maturity and growth. And over the years, we've had talks with them as they have lost that belief in Santa about why people do believe in him. And it's just never really been an issue. However, what I didn't realize is that there are a lot of people who do think that letting your kids believe in Santa is actually not a good thing, and that is actually harmful to them, and that it should be stopped as a common theme for kids in the Christmas experience overall. Now, I personally don't agree with that, but you guys can let me know what you think in the comments below. And I do want to go through a couple of takes on this subject, and you can tell me what you agree with or what you don't agree with. This is an article from the Science of Health, and it says, "The Santa Debate: Should Kids Be Told the Truth?" It says at some point, every parent who celebrates Christmas with their families has to decide how to talk to their children about Santa Claus. Though believing in Santa is a beloved childhood tradition, some younger parents are no longer buying into the Santa myth. These parents believe that they should be honest about Santa from the start, while others feel that allowing children to believe in Santa is part of the magic of Christmas. But is there a right or wrong answer to the Santa debate? According to University Hospitals Rainbow Babies and Children's licensed clinical psychologist, Carolyn Landis, the answer is no. Families can choose the route that feels most comfortable to them, and there is little risk of traumatizing their children regardless of the decision. It says, according to Dr. Levers Landis, children have magical thinking until the age of 6, and it's a completely normal part of childhood development. Magical thinking is the belief that your thoughts can affect or change events in the world around you. This gives young children a very active imagination that spills over into their play and everyday life. Quote, children don't have to be grounded in reality. It's normal for them to think about things in a magical way, says Dr. Levers Landis. Therefore, fantasy and mythical things such as Santa, the Tooth Fairy, and even Disney princesses can be very real to young children. Allowing your child to believe, even though they eventually will find out the truth, will not be traumatizing or harmful to their development. While they may have an emotional reaction at first, this is generally short-lived. And on the other side of the argument, for parents who don't want to engage in the Santa belief system, it says it's also completely fine for parents to choose not to teach their children that Santa is real. You can instead focus on other aspects of Christmas that are important to your family, such as the joy of giving. Let them know that even though your family does not believe in Santa, other families like to pretend, and that's okay too. So basically, the answer is that neither is the better approach. Ultimately, whatever you decide in your home is perfectly fine. The thing that really stood out to me is that kids do have that imagination and that belief in magic and things that are make believe when they're really young, up until the age of 6. And when I think about all of the kinds of entertainment that are geared towards kids that young to teach them things, they use creative ideas like talking animals and flying dogs and mermaids and unicorns. My boys personally really liked Thomas the Train when they were toddlers, which is a show that includes train yards full of trains that talk to each other and interact with each other, even though clearly that's not true and we know that it's not. We've got superheroes and things like Superman and Spider-Man. There are shows with talking monster trucks and dinosaurs. You get the idea. Their entire world that young is full of things that aren't real, but these things are being used to teach them things that are real, that are valuable, and that will stay with them long after their imagination tapers down and they develop a firm grasp on the world. My kids learned the alphabet from a show that had talking puppies. They still know the alphabet, but they clearly no longer believe that they can have a conversation with a dog. So, while there are a lot of people who think that allowing kids to believe in Santa is lying to them, I just personally don't see it that way. Because, in my view, that's basically what their entire world is when they're young. And I love to see them enjoy it because that time period where they actually get to do that kind of thing is so short. They have their entire lives to face the harsh realities of the world we live in. Let them have a little bit of magic while they can. But that's just me. And if you disagree with me, I'm not shaming you. I'm interested in your perspective. As usual, I do like to explore TikTok and find out what people's thoughts and opinions are on the particular subject that we're talking about. Because on TikTok, people share their thoughts and opinions about literally everything, and it's fascinating. So the first girl we're going to hear from is someone who believed in Santa Claus until she was 10 years old, and the effect that it had on her.
How old were you when you stopped believing in Santa? I was 10 years old, which is arguably a little bit late in the game. And I actually still believed, but I told my parents I didn't because I was testing them. And then they said, okay, Santa's not real. You can help us be Santa for your little brother. I was heartbroken. I really did believe. So they should have asked more questions to really find out if I believed or not. But also 10 years old is like a fine age to find out. I feel like it's even earlier nowadays, like 7. But from that year on, I had to help them be Santa. So, like, they would get a Lego kit for my little brother. And then I would be responsible for using the Lego kit to like build a fun village or set out the toys in a fun way. And they always did a trail of candy or something to our rooms. And so I still had to pretend like the trail went to my brother's room and my room.
Well, I personally think that 10 years old is a little old to still believe in Santa. Clearly, this experience didn't have any long term negative psychological effects on her, but I do like how her parents lightened the revelation of the truth by having her now be part of creating that magic for her younger sibling. So I guess that's one way to handle it if you're looking for some ideas. So, this next take on the issue is somebody who is actually a therapist. She's going on to explain why she does not do Santa or Elf on the Shelf or any of these things. And again, you can tell me if you agree or disagree.
So the first reason that I'm not doing this is because I don't want my kid to one day question what all are my parents telling the truth about. Because whenever we tell them a pretty elaborate story, right? A pretty elaborate kind of narrative that we're reinforcing year after year. And then one day they find out, like, oh, that's not true. It's kind of like, oh, okay, what all isn't true? Can I trust my parents? How reliable of narrators are they? And typically around the time that they stop believing in Santa, they're growing up a little bit, maybe they're getting closer to puberty or they're, wherever they're at. And that's already a difficult time for them anyways, just developmentally and mentally where they're at, that I don't want to introduce anymore. I don't want to sprinkle any more on that. Now, some other things about this whole Santa thing that just don't feel good to me are really kind of the ideas of good and bad, naughty or nice. There's a few reasons I can't get behind it. One is because I feel like it introduces the idea of shame. like, oh, you're bad, right? That's not something that I want to do with my child. I don't want to shame my child into behaving. I also don't want this weird valuation system to come up where it's like, oh, people that don't have means are bad and people that have financial means are good.
Me personally, I think that this is way overthinking the issue, but that's just me. I'm not shaming her perspective. I disagree with some of it, and I actually agree with other parts of it. First, I don't know about you guys, but it never crossed my mind to sit down and reevaluate everything that my parents had ever told me when I realized that Santa wasn't real. I didn't have this crisis where I had to analyze everything that I thought I knew about the people who raised me. It was like, oh, well, I guess it really doesn't make sense that this guy could get into every house in one night and squeeze down a chimney. In fact, I'm actually kind of relieved to know that that kind of madness isn't possible. It didn't create this massive rift or lack of trust between myself and my parents. Secondly, I do think that we need to be careful about how we frame the naughty versus nice thing, and that being rewarded with presents means you're automatically nice, or that if you have more expensive items, then you're nicer. I saw one parent's idea a while ago where she said that they would label smaller things as being from Santa or Mrs. Claus, but that nicer gifts were always labeled from her and her husband or the family member who purchased it. She was like, there's no way that Santa is getting credit for these things. And I like that idea because it upholds the magic of Santa without creating like this tiered reward system. But overall, I do think that the magic is good for kids and we really shouldn't overthink it this much. And then, of course, there are problems that come with letting your kids believe in Santa, like what this woman explains.
Hi, what do we do with the thing on our kids' Christmas list that they trust wholly and deeply that Santa Claus will bring to them? Because, Mom, Santa has elves who make the toys, but it's so insanely creative and specific that it does not exist. And when I said, "Oh, buddy, I don't know that that's a thing," he was like, "Mom, the elves will make it." I don't know if elves can like special order something from your imagination. What do I do? What do I do?
And my husband and I have had similar experiences to this with our kids. And we've just had to let our kids know that, yes, Santa is magic and he has elves and he's got this huge toy shop, but Santa still has limits. He has a lot of kids to bring presents to. He has a lot of lists to go over. So if something isn't under the tree that you asked for, just know he tried. Because I think it's okay to set boundaries even when it comes to things like Santa or whatever it is that's make believe that your kid believes in. That's what I think that we're here for as parents, to let our kids have their best childhood, but to make sure that things don't get out of control and that they're still rooted in a sense of reality. I mean, if they believe in Superman and Spider-Man, you still can't let them think that they can fly or that they can climb walls. And we can't have them believing in things like, that men can be women or that socialism works or whatever it is. But that is all I have for you on this subject today. I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you for sticking through this. I am fighting a bit of a cold, so that is why my voice might sound a little bit rough. But again, please be sure to hit that thumbs up button. Make sure that you are subscribed. If you're looking for other ways to help and support my channel, there are links in the comment section and in the description box to do so. And as always, your generosity is always truly appreciated. Keep it real, guys, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.